How's it going? Happy 2020. Um, After seeing all the stuff on the news and the amount of people that are still completely caught up in willful blindness and the normalcy bias, I felt that it was time to actually put together a small little video to show those who are still in denial of what's going on. So, there's still so many people that think Black Lives Matter is a legitimate movement. Let me make something very, very clear. This was the same thing that happened in 2016, pre-election Trump. Black Lives Matters spawned out of nowhere. You saw Beyonce on the NFL Super Bowl halftime show with her whole Black Panthers nonsense and charades. This went on up until the election, if you remember. After the election, it completely fell off. 4 years later, it came back full steam. Now keep one thing in mind. With Black Lives Matter, it takes a lot of money to put together a website and to coordinate large-scale marches, especially across the country. Imagine yourself trying to round up a handful of people on Facebook to go march downtown Detroit or Houston, Texas. It would be almost impossible without a huge following of some kind, let alone having multiple sources of this just randomly pop up around the country in all the major cities. And then you see the random piles of bricks everywhere before the riots even happened after the whole George Floyd nonsense. Now, some people are probably going to get butthurt that I just said nonsense to George Floyd. But you have to understand, they needed an agenda. They needed an excuse to push an agenda. Now, I want to show you something. Now, doing graphic design, web design, audio, video production, I can tell you exactly how much something like this would cost. Especially to have all the scripting and programming done into the website. The graphic design, the logos, the whole 9 yards. I mean, you're easily talking $10,000 worth of graphic content, marketing, slogans, you name it. But the most important part of this is if you actually look at the donate function. Now, keep one thing in mind. The Black Lives Matter movement, whether you want to believe it or not, is a democratic money laundering organization. They know that they need the black vote to win. They know they're losing the black vote. So what do? They create a black-based, community-driven organization to pull in amount of support so people will donate the money in mass quantities to support Black Lives Matter. But what they don't realize is where the money is really going. It's not going to anything Black Lives. And I want to show you. And you can do this yourself, so follow along. If you notice in the headline, you see blacklivesmatter.com. There's no taboo of voodoo here. I'm just going to go link by link. Now, if you scroll to the bottom and you say, okay, well, I believe in Black Lives Matter, blah, 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 blah. I want to donate to this. So you click donate. And you see the movement. You see all the black people, so they build the community base, like, show your support for the black community. And it looks all good and fine on the cover. But just like the Wizard of Oz, you had the guy behind the curtain pulling the levers and strings who was no more of a wizard and all an act. Now, if you scroll down in here, you'll notice the contribution rules made to this charity. The charity actually collecting the money is called Act Blue Charities. Okay? So you think you're donating to a credible charity. So then we Google search, what is Act Blue? And that takes you to Act Blue's website. They are the charity that collects the money from the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, what I want you to watch, this is what things get interesting. If you go back to Google and you type in Act Blue expenditures for 2020, it takes you to the website of everything that they spent their donation money on. So you go to Black Lives Matter, you donate here, it goes to Act Blue, and let's see where Act Blue sends that money. So let's see here. Administrative, $2 million. Let's see here. Campaign events and activities, $87,000. Campaign mailings and materials, $1,000. Okay, well, who are they supporting then? Contributions to federal candidates. That's a pretty nice chunk, if you ask me. Contributions to national parties. Joint fundraising committees, local parties. Keep scrolling down, it gets interesting. miscellaneous media, broadcast ads, web ads, specified banners. So obviously, they're supporting a presidential candidate. Keep scrolling. What do you see here? The top vendors and recipients. Bernie 2020, Biden for president, Elizabeth Warren, Pete for America, Democratic Congressional. It's all Democrat-driven party members. Now keep in mind, like I said, the Democrats know that they've always had the black vote, even though the Democrats were responsible for slavery, for trying to fight Lincoln on slavery, and also for the creation of KKK. They've always looked at blacks as slaves. They've always looked at blacks as their property in a matter of speaking, okay? They want to keep the black vote because they know the Democrats need the black vote, especially if they want to try to cheat and overthrow Trump. But when you donate to Black Lives, you're not donating to the actual cause of protecting black people. What you're doing is you're actually supporting the people that hate the black people, the Democratic Party. They're using the black community to bring in the funding to put in their candidate, Bernie and Biden for president, who, in his own words, wants to send blacks and a lot of other minorities back to slavery. So when you're actually voting for Black Lives Matter, you're actually voting to condemn black lives in a form of repeated democratic slavery, in a matter of speaking. And to take it one step further, you always hear of Antifa, right? So let's try something. Antifa.com. I didn't even push enter yet, and what do you see? Joe Biden's logo pops up next to it. Joe Biden for president, official campaign. Antifa.com. Joe Biden for president. Black Lives Matter, Act Blue. Act Blue expenditures. Joe Biden for president. Antifa.com. Joe Biden for president. When are you going to wake up? The riots were staged. The protests were staged. All of the destruction of the burning of the buildings is staged. They want to destroy government buildings. They want to destroy government property because they want to get rid of U.S. constitutional law. They want to get rid of the Second Amendment. They want to get rid of your guns so that way people cannot protect themselves. They want to get rid of police and defund police. This is why when they defund the police, they don't want to get rid of police. They want to bring in a new police force, a United Nations-based police force. They want to have a global government, a global financial system, a global police force ran through United Nations. It's all part of the same system. But in order to complete this objective, they have to get rid of the U.S. money. That's why you're seeing the coin shortage and only accept exact cash, because the banks are trying to more or less siphon all the fiat currency off the streets so they can push a global digital currency. They're trying to destroy all the U.S. history, the monuments and statues, because they want to get rid of all U.S. history because they want to start over as a part of the global system. They want to get rid of police so they can initiate a global jurisdictional boundaryless, is that even a word? I don't care. They want a police force that has no jurisdiction. International police with one government lean system, law enforcement information network. In order to do that, they need to overthrow Trump. But in order to do that, they need the black vote. And everyone knows that Biden is not only a pedophile.
Today I am proud to endorse Joe Biden because he will be an extraordinary president.
We cannot win this re-election. Excuse me, we can only re-elect Donald Trump.
With a clear path to lead us out of this crisis.
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
Joe Biden brings values and integrity to work every day because he never forgets his roots.
Kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
We need a forward-looking, battle-tested leader who will fight for the people.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
The strategic
it's like
thinking
a horrible job
to bring
interview.
our nation together.
I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
A leader who is the personification of hope and courage.
All men and women created by gold. You know the thing.
values authenticity and integrity.
His hands were down my skirt and up my skirt.
So ask yourself again, regardless of what you believe, this is not a battle about who sits in the Oval Office. Whether or not you like Trump or you hate Trump has nothing to do with Trump. What this election comes down to is, do we keep our freedom and our American way of life? Or do we surrender it to a bunch of socialistic globalists who want to take away our Constitution, take away our guns, take away our freedom, our liberty, our jobs, and more or less, it sounds extreme, but it's a form of enslavement. And if you laugh and you say it can't happen, the further you look into history, the further you can see into the future. Poe, Lee, Hitler, Stalin, they all did the same thing. They crashed their economy, their financial system, took away their guns. They murdered millions of people. Okay? If the Democrats overthrow Trump and they cheat this election, that's what COVID is, about forcing the mail-in voting so they can cheat, you're not going to even recognize this country anymore. So don't believe the Black Lives Matter bullshit. Don't believe the COVID bullshit. It's all meant to keep people segregated in their houses, locked down, so they have to vote by mail, so they can cheat and overthrow Trump, so they can take the money that they fundraise, that they launder from Black Lives Matter through Act Blue to Joe Biden, thanks to Antifa for causing all the riots, which brings the Black Lives Matter people together to go against Trump. It's all a scam. And if you fall for it and you vote for Biden, you're voting to surrender your freedoms, your American way of life, and any future for you and your kids. Wake up before it's too late. That's all I have to say.